Welcome to Podnutz Daily for June 13th, 2009, episode number 177. Had a Dell E310 XP desktop. I don't know if that's a Dimension XPS. What is it? E310. It's kind of somewhat new Dell desktop. And what the problem was with this, one of the main problems, other than just a normal cleanup, is after we did the cleanup, the add remove programs wouldn't work in the control panel. Now, add remove programs is the only time it wouldn't work is in the control panel. Say we ran CCleaner, we could get add remove programs to work. So the question is, how do you repair add remove programs in the control panel? Well, when we clicked on it, what would happen is nothing. You know, sometimes when you click on these things and they're faulty, they open up, or they open and there's no icons there. But this one, it didn't even open at all. It acted like it wasn't even there. There's a couple fixes online. You just have to Google it. There's a couple fixes online to fix it. And there's like three main fixes for this. Now, we tried all those fixes, and they didn't work. I tried Dial-A-Fix, which usually fixes control panel applets. That didn't work. Then we ran the system file checker, which is SFC//scan now feature I talked about last show. And that runs through for about half an hour. Then it starts looking for files. Now, I've had this happen on the system file checker before. Maybe one of you guys can help me out. It's looking for files. All of a sudden, it asks for a disk that's not the current operating system that's in the computer. In other words, system file checker is supposed to take files from that are not supposed to be altered in your operating system. And if they are, it takes them off your XP disk or whatever disk you're using and puts them back into the computer. Well, this is asking me for an XP disk that I didn't have, that wasn't even the same version of what was on the system. So it was really confusing. Don't know exactly why that happened, but every disk I put in, Professional, Home Edition, Service Packs, everything wasn't working. So I'm missing something there, but that didn't work. System File Checker looked like it was trying to work, and it was looking for the files it needed, but because they couldn't find the right disk, it couldn't find the right files. That might have been part of the error. I don't know, actually. So I didn't do that. We ended up doing a Windows repair. Not a Windows recovery, not a reinstall, a Windows repair, which you do through Windows Setup. And that fixed it because it basically rewrites the operating system on top of itself. So Windows repair did the trick on that one. I want to talk about motherboards a little bit. A lot of times you'll get motherboards, I still get them, that have blown capacitors. And these happen in computers usually around the 2004, 2005, 2006 era. Maybe not even 2006. That's towards the end of it probably. But what would happen is it appears dust gets in the CPU heatsink, in the CPU fan. The computer overheats, and these capacitors explode. Basically, they leak. They start leaking. And you'll notice this on a lot of machines, especially machines you can't quite figure out what the problem is, and they're starting to act flaky. We always check the motherboard for blown capacitors. We take the desktops outside, we hit them with a leaf blower to get all the dust out, and then we look in them and see if the capacitors are okay. That's one of the standard things we do, and we'll often find that they are. Now, if they are, we'll often find that they're messed up. When they are leaking, and you'll notice it because on the top there's like a little crusty black something coming out the top of them. It's like an acid. When they are blown, usually we just replace the motherboard. We don't even go any further in repair most of the times. Sometimes these motherboards work with blown capacitors. Sometimes they don't. It's not worth it. Because say you fix it, it works great at your shop or at the house there, and then you leave, it's going to happen again probably. It's a flaky thing. You don't want to keep it like that. So we always replace the motherboard. Well, lately, I've been replacing capacitors on these. It's a good idea when you have bad motherboards that have good capacitors, because some motherboards are just fail or go dead, but their capacitors are still good. Keep them in your stock. And then when you have a motherboard that does come in with blown capacitors and you want to replace them, you have the capacitors to do it off of that. I've also ordered capacitors, I think, from Newark Electronics. They send you a big catalog of stuff. I've ordered capacitors from them for a graphics card. So you can order the capacitors as well, but why not, if you just have them, you just use them. Let's see what I can do to talk about this here. It's a tough job. You know, it's not necessarily easy. A lot of times I'll take instead of resoldering the capacitor straight onto the motherboard, I take 2 wires, I solder them to the leads where the capacitor was, and I run it to the capacitor, and I hot glue the capacitor somewhere else on the motherboard. And yeah, I only usually do this job when there's 1 or 2 that are blown. If there's 1 or 2 that are blown, everything else looks good, I do it because it's profitable. You could charge for the parts and repairing of the motherboard. And what I would normally do if I bought a new motherboard is I charge $199 for the job. And that means you have to get a new motherboard. It's hard to get socket 478s now, so you got to get like a socket 775 motherboard. That means you got to get a new processor, a new RAM, and it's not compatible with their IDE. There's only one IDE port and all this stuff, so it gets messed up. If you can get away with repairing capacitors on a motherboard, go for it. I have not filmed this, but maybe I'll start filming this when I'm done the laptop repair videos. We'll go on to desktop repair videos. Some of you guys have been asking about that, but it is worthwhile, I think, to do replacing capacitors on motherboards. This way you don't have to change any settings with a new motherboard. You don't have to install drivers. You replace that capacitor, boom, you know the motherboard's okay. Okay. I talked about shows start graphic still there, Steve. What does it say? Start graphic. Where? Let me just check the site here for a second. Make sure my stream's coming through okay. Yeah, it is still there. No kidding. I don't know why that is. All right, let's get rid of that. Delete. There it goes. Thank you for that, Uncle Al. Okay. And sorry if you guys listen to the audio stream on that. It's just one of the graphics I was using to for the video show was still on the screen. Okay, next thing I want to talk about. I talked about this in the last podcast. A eBay seller called Laptop Z. Basically, laptops. That's how it is. It's actually Laptop Z -outlet. And I bought a screen from them for a Sony laptop. They sent me an incompatible screen. I was so mad that I didn't want to just send it back and get my money back. I wanted my money back now. I decided to make a little bit of a fuss because they wasted my time. They made my customer upset. I'm not going to just send it back, pretend everything's okay, and get my money back whenever they feel like giving it to me. I put money into their company. I needed to buy a screen that worked. You know what I mean? They sent me the wrong screen. So I called up and demanding that they refund me my money now. I have 100% feedback rating so they could trust me. I want my money now, and then I'll ship the screen back. And they complained and said no and just complained about the whole thing. And finally I got an email from one of the girl I was talking to on the phone, or yelling at on the phone. And she gave me an email, said, okay, we'll make a compromise. You send us the tracking number. When you send us the tracking number, we will refund your money. Well, when I sent the package, I